Welcome back, team, to another Saturday tester. This week's Saturday tester is called Where's Wally? Now this is going to be 3 minutes of work, 2 minutes of rest for a total of 5 rounds. Now your score is going to be the total amount of reps completed for the final movement. Now what are they? Each 3-minute interval is going to start with a 25 or 20 calorie row, dependent on whether you're male or female. We are then going to move to 20 wall balls at your retrospective weight and height. They're all slightly different, so let's make sure we take a look at those before we start. Then we will be moving into max ground to overhead, which is a clean and press, clean and push press, clean and jerk for our live crew. If you are in performer compete, you are going to be doing your snatch. Now the weights for this are all slightly different. So again, let's check the wall ball height and also the weight of the barbell before we get going. Now, like I said, your score for this workout is going to be the total amount of work completed on the barbell. If we look at the 3 minutes of work and 2 minutes of rest, we will be testing your fatigue repeatability. Why and how? This number is smaller than this number, so it means that you're getting less rest than you are work, which means as the rounds go on, it should get a little bit harder. We will also be testing your barbell cycling. Now, for most of us, the weight is going to be slightly different, but we are now looking at whether an athlete is going to choose to do singles or whether they're going to be choosing to do touch and go. Again, we can mix this up. Maybe in the earlier rounds we do touch and go. Maybe in the latter rounds we resort to using singles. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, what else will we be testing? If we look at what kind of phase we are in for the LPC right now, it is an intensification, which means we are trying to look a little bit more like the sport of CrossFit. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We are trying to choose movements that tend to come up within the CrossFit testing circle. So if we look at these movements themselves, rowing and wall balls have been a staple in the CrossFit Open for years, which is why we're just starting to get a little sprinkle of that now. Remember, we are in week 3 of our intensification cycle, which means we have 1 more week left. Like I said earlier, we are going to be testing either touch and go or single style repetitions of barbell cycling. You've had exposure to both in the LPC for the last few weeks, so just bear that in mind. If you need to take a look through warmup and make sure that we feel comfortable with what style or technique we are using, then let's do so before the workout starts. Now, like I said earlier, 3 minutes of work, 2 minutes of rest for a total of 5 rounds. What we don't want to do is have a really aggressive round 1 and then a really chilled out round 5. What we want to try to do here, if we're trying to get the best score, is try to be consistent across all 5 rounds. It's going to give you the best score at the end of the workout. Now, remembering that the score for this workout is the total amount of barbell work that you complete, means that the row and wall balls are almost treated like a buy-in for each round. What do I mean by that? If you go full send on the row, by the time you get to the ground to overhead or the snatches, probably not going to be feeling too good. So realistically, what we want to try to do is move through the row in a wall ball at a comfortable pace, probably going to still have to push, but we want to be getting to that barbell and still being able to crank out a few reps. We don't want to kind of get there hands on knees, hanging out, not feeling good. We want to be able to push once we get to the barbell, because that's where your score is going to count. That being said, what's going to be a good way to get there? Are we going to break those wall balls? What kind of cadence are we going to hold on the rower? It's going to be slightly different for all of us, but making sure that we have a game plan before we start is always the best bet. Remember, team, there is a 7-day free trial for all of our non-subscribers. Let's make sure we grab a buddy and find out where Wally is. Let's go.